Welcome to the first episode of the Rising Tidecast. I'm Steve Govel, your host and the owner of Rising Tide Film. And this podcast is all about sharing the stories of people around the world in the boating industry. So this is an intro episode where I'll tell you a little bit about myself, why I started the podcast, and what to expect from future episodes. So I created this podcast because I love hearing and telling people's stories. And I believe more people in the marine industry need to share theirs. You know, we're an industry known for fish stories, and I think there's a massive lack of storytelling in marine business marketing. And, you know, stories are so important, especially for brands, because when we tell those stories, we connect with people on a deep and meaningful level. So, what to expect from the podcast? We're going to feature people in the marine industry, sharing their stories and highlight some of the lessons they've learned along their journey. I want this podcast for anyone listening to basically be something that you'll connect with, whether you're an industry veteran or super keen to get your start in the industry. And the way that I think you'll get value from this is we're going to have interviews with industry experts featuring their stories and insights from their journey. And we're also going to talk a lot about marketing strategy. So discussions around the latest trends and techniques in narrative marketing to help grow your business. And hopefully you take away some practical tips to make your business stand out. You know, the saying, a rising tide lifts all ships. Well, my hope is that this podcast gives you some golden nuggets to help you on your journey, or just entertained you on your drive with some great stories you might have never heard before. So episodes will be posted as audio and video on all of the platforms, and head probably to YouTube if you're keen to put a face to the voices that you hear. If you have someone too that you'd love to hear on the podcast, please send them my way. So picture this. It's fall in Manasquan, New Jersey. The sun hasn't risen yet, and there's a deceivingly warm glow in the sky. It's actually freezing on our 20-foot Aquasport center console as we head out to find the schools of bunker and the stripers waiting for us underneath. Dad pushes the throttle down as the Mercury 250 screams in the back, and Dad asks which way I want to go as we head out of the inlet. There's nowhere to hide from that bone-chilling cold wind, but thinking back to those moments with Dad and those mornings, there's nowhere else I would have rather been. Those mornings are full of core memories for me. And it's not just because of the fish we caught, but the bond that we shared. You know, those trips were our one-on-one time. A chance we could talk about anything and everything while surrounded by the beauty of the ocean. And when I wasn't fishing with Dad, I was fishing with friends, you know, catching bait for our next time out or finding little snapper in the river. Fishing was and still is one of my favorite things to do. And those early experiences instilled in me a deep love for the water. It's a passion that I now pass on to my kids, and creating memories that I know they'll cherish just as much as I do. And, you know, I went to school in Philly and spent a semester in Australia at University of Queensland, and realized that during that semester that the career path I had planned was not for me. And I knew I needed to get back to Australia someday. So after finishing school, I spent a season in Whistler, which is basically halfway there, mini Australia, where I met my Australian wife, Maddie, and traveled back and forth between the US and Australia for many years together. And I started a photography business in 2009, did a lot of weddings and portraits and commercial work between the countries, following the sun, doing 6 months, and it was awesome. And so after we had our second daughter in 2019, we moved to Australia right before COVID hit. Perfect timing. But I'm actually really thankful for that timing because it made me pivot my business, and I found Short Marine in Sydney. And it was an aha moment for me, where what I loved to do growing up merged with what I love to do at work. I'm not sure how it never clicked before, but I'm so happy it did. And after working with Sam and Ryan at Short Marine in Sydney, it became very clear quickly that the work I was doing for them was something unique and really desirable in the industry. So I started Rising Tide Film, and we help marine businesses use authentic and engaging video storytelling to share the real stories of their brand. And that connects deeply with their audience and helps grow their business. And I've seen the massive impact this kind of narrative marketing has on businesses when done right and done consistently. because people connect with brands that have a compelling story. Putting those stories together in a way that connects emotionally is one of the things that really sets us apart, because it's a science and it's an art. A few of my friends call me Spielberg, possibly because of my expertise in storytelling, but it's probably the amount of gear I bring on their boat. Sorry, not sorry. And I bring creativity and business acumen to every project that we do, and split my time currently between Sydney, Australia, and New Jersey in the US. And I'd love to hear your story or help you discover it. So that's what this podcast is all about. And thank you for joining me on the first episode of the Rising Tidecast. I can't wait to dive into these stories with you and explore the incredible world of boating in the marine industry. So if you have a story to share or want to learn more about what we do, you can always send me a message at Rising Tide Film on all the platforms. And please also subscribe and rate the podcast wherever you listen, and share it with someone who'd love to listen as well. I'll leave you with this message. I believe a strong brand and a powerful story can make all the difference in the world. Because when people remember you, when your story resonates with them, it opens doors you never thought were there. So, catch you on the next episode.